That night, I understood that a slap does not hurt the cheek, it hurts the soul. My name is Helen Cooper. I am 70 years old, and this is the story I kept for too long. Not out of shame, but because there was something in me that still wanted to believe my son would be the boy I once knew. But there are moments in life when a mother must learn to let go, even if it hurts like ripping roots from her chest. It all started on a Saturday in April. The sky was clear, with that deep blue you only see in the spring. I had spent weeks choosing my dress, champagne-coloured, elegant yet understated, because a mother should not overshadow the bride. I carried a silk handkerchief that belonged to my own mother, embroidered with her initials. It was my way of taking her with me that day. The church was packed, white flowers everywhere, soft organ music, guests dressed as if it were a royal wedding, and maybe it was, for Robert, my only son, the boy I carried in my arms through nights of fever, the young man I hugged when his father left us, the man who now stood before the altar waiting for his fiancée. I was sitting in the third row, not the first. That should have told me something right there. The ceremony was perfect. Valerie walked in radiant, in a dress that cost more than my rent for 6 months. Robert was smiling like I had never seen him smile before, and I, from my seat, only prayed for him to be happy. That is what mothers do, right? We ask for happiness for our children, even if they no longer look at us the way they used to. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the reception hall, a huge place with crystal chandeliers and tables decorated as if each one were a work of art. I walked slowly, greeting some distant relatives, feeling with every step that something was not right. No one had asked me where I wanted to sit. No one had included me in the family photos. Then I saw him. Robert was walking toward me with that expression I knew too well, the same one he had as a teenager when he was about to say something hurtful. Valerie was beside him, with a cold smile that did not reach her eyes. "Mom," he said loudly, loud enough for several guests to turn around. "I need to talk to you." "Of course, my dear," I replied, trying to stay calm. "Do you want to go somewhere more private?" "No, here is fine." And then it happened. He raised his hand and slapped me, hard. The sound echoed through the hall like a gunshot. Before I could react, the second one came. My face was burning, but what hurt the most were the eyes of all those people on me. "You are not welcome, Mum. Leave." The words came out of his mouth like poison, cold, calculated, as if he had rehearsed them. My legs trembled. I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. But I did not cry. I did not scream. I just clutched my embroidered handkerchief between my trembling hands and walked toward the exit, step by step, with my head held high, though everything inside was falling apart. No one stopped me. No one said anything. When I got outside, the cool air hit my face. I leaned against the hall wall, and finally the tears fell. Not from the physical pain, but because I had just lost my son in front of 200 people. I took a taxi home. The whole way I held that embroidered handkerchief. My mother's initials seemed to glow under the lamplight. And in that moment, something inside me changed. It was no longer just pain. It was clarity. That night, sitting in my small living room with a cup of chamomile tea in my hands, I made a decision. One that would change everything. Because there are hits that mark the skin, and there are hits that mark the road. Before I tell you what I did with that envelope, I need you to understand something. Robert was not always like this. There was a time when my son was all tenderness. A boy with big eyes and an easy laugh, who ran toward me every time I came home from work, shouting, "Mom! Mom!" with open arms. I can still feel the weight of his little body, when he climbed onto my lap so I could read him bedtime stories. We lived in a small house in Queens, with a backyard where red geraniums grew and a vine that climbed the wall. We did not have much, but we had enough. On Sundays we made apple pie together. Robert would put on my mother's apron, the same one whose embroidered handkerchief I kept for years, and get his hands full of flour while I kneaded the dough. "Mum, when am I going to be big like you?" he would ask me. "You are already big, my dear. A little bigger every day." He would smile and dip a finger into the dough to taste it. I would give his hand a gentle tap, and we would laugh. Those were our moments, sacred, simple. His father, Richard, had left when Robert was only 5 years old. One morning, he simply did not come back from work. He left a note on the kitchen table. "I cannot take this life anymore. Forgive me." 8 words that changed everything. Robert cried for weeks, asking about his dad. I cried too, but always at night, when he was already asleep. During the day, I had to be strong. I had to be both mother and father. I worked double shifts for years. I cleaned houses in the mornings and ironed clothes in the afternoons. My hands were full of calluses and my knees hurt climbing stairs, but Robert never lacked anything. Never. I enrolled him in good schools. I bought him new uniforms every year. When he turned 15 and all his friends had big parties, I saved for months to give him a small gathering with a chocolate cake and a live band. I saw his smile that night and knew every sacrifice had been worth it. "Mum, you are the best in the world," he told me, hugging me tight. "And you are my reason for living, my angel." We were a team. He studied with dedication, and I worked tirelessly. When he entered the university to study business administration, I cried with pride. My son, the first in the family to go to college, he still came home on weekends. He would bring his dirty laundry, and I would wash it while he told me about his classes, his friends, his dreams. We would drink hot cider in the kitchen, that sweet aroma of cinnamon that filled the whole house. "Someday I am going to buy you a big house, Mum, with a huge garden so you can plant all the flowers you want." "I do not need a big house, my dear. I just need you to be happy." Those afternoons were my treasure. Every laugh of his was a piece of heaven in my week. But things began to change when he met Valerie. He was in his senior year of college. He came home one Friday with that look that people in love have, that special light in their eyes. "Mum, I met someone," he said. "Tell me." "Her name is Valerie. She is amazing. She studies fashion design, and her family owns several businesses. She is different from all the girls I have met. Different." That word should have warned me. The first time she came to the house, she arrived in a car that cost more than everything I had ever earned in my life. She stepped out of the vehicle with high heels and huge sunglasses, looking at our little house as if it were an antique museum. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Cooper," she said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "Robert has told me so much about you." "The pleasure is mine, dear. Come in, come in." I made chicken and biscuits. Valerie smiled, but it was a polite smile, one of those you learn in etiquette classes. She sat on the edge of the chair as if afraid of getting dirty. During that meal, I tried to be warm, to make her feel welcome. I asked her about her studies, her family, her plans. She answered in monosyllables, occasionally looking at her phone. Robert was fascinated. He looked at her as if she were an angel descended from heaven. After that day, my son's visits became less frequent. He no longer came on weekends. When I called him, his answers were brief. "I am busy, Mum. I will call you later." But later never came. Even so, I kept that embroidered handkerchief in my drawer. I would take it out sometimes and hold it against my chest, remembering when Robert was little and still needed me, when I was enough. Sometimes we trust too much that a child's love is forever. Have you also felt someone you loved slowly pulling away? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read them. The distance between Robert and me did not happen suddenly. It was like rust, slow, silent, corrosive. 6 months passed since I met Valerie. 6 months in which my son transformed into a stranger who still had his face, but no longer his heart. The phone calls that were once daily turned into weekly, then every 2 weeks. When he finally called me, his voice sounded hurried, distant. "How are you, my dear?" I would ask, trying not to sound needy. "Good, Mom. Everything is good. Hey, I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Can I call you later?" Later never came. He stopped bringing his dirty laundry. He stopped coming for hot cider on Sundays. The last time he came to the house was to pick up some boxes with his childhood belongings, school trophies, photographs, old books. "Are you moving?" I asked him, feeling a lump in my throat. "Valerie and I are renting an apartment together in Manhattan." Manhattan, a place where I could never live, even if I worked 3 lifetimes. "Oh, that is great, son. I am happy that you are building your life." I lied. I was not happy. It hurt as if a piece of my chest was being ripped out. But mothers learn to lie with a smile, right? Because we do not want to be the burden, the weight, the mother who will not let go. Yes, it is a nice place. It has 3 bedrooms, a gym, a pool. Valerie decorated the whole thing. "And when will you invite me to see it?" There was a silence. One of those silences that says more than 1,000 words. "Of course, Mum. Soon, when everything is ready." That soon never came either. What did come were the veiled remarks, small, almost imperceptible, but sharp as needles. One day he called me to say that Valerie and he were going on vacation to Miami. "That is wonderful, son. Enjoy it a lot." Yes, Valerie says we need these moments, without family distractions. Family distractions. That is what he called me. Another time he told me they had gone out to dinner with Valerie's parents at a fancy restaurant. "It was amazing, Mum. Valerie's dad is an entrepreneur. He has contacts everywhere. He is helping me with my career." That is good, my dear. I am glad you have support. Yes, he says that to succeed, you have to surround yourself with successful people. People who have already made it. I understood perfectly. I was not successful people. I was the woman who cleaned houses so he could study. But that, apparently, no longer counted. The fractures became more obvious when I found out about their engagement. Not from him. I found out on Facebook. A photograph of Valerie showing a huge ring with a text. I said yes. Engaged. My love of my life. I stared at my phone screen for minutes. Robert had not told me anything. Not a call. Not a text. Nothing. I called him immediately. The phone rang 5 times before he answered. "Hello?" "Robert, son, I just saw on Facebook that you got engaged. Why did not you tell me?" Another silence. "Oh, yeah. It is just that everything happened really fast, Mum. I was going to call you." "When was it?" 3 days ago." 3 days? My son had been engaged for 3 days and had not found a single minute to tell me. "I am very happy for you, my dear. Congratulations to you both." "Thanks, Mom. Hey, we are in the middle of something. Can I call you later?" He hung up before I could respond. That night I sat in the kitchen with a cup of chamomile tea. I took the embroidered handkerchief out of the drawer and held it in my hands. My mother's initials seemed to look at me, as if asking me what I had done wrong. Maybe I was too devoted. Maybe I spoiled him. Maybe I should have taught him that success is not measured by the size of apartments or expensive rings, but by gratitude and respect. But it was too late for those lessons. 2 weeks later, I received the wedding invitation. It arrived by mail, inside an elegant ivory envelope with gold lettering. I opened it with trembling hands. The parents of the bride and groom have the honor of inviting you. I read the names. There were Valerie's parents, Richard and Monica Stone, but my name did not appear anywhere. It just said, Cooper family. Cooper family, as if I were a footnote. I called Robert. Son, I received the invitation. I saw they put Cooper family. Did not you want my name to appear? It is just that Valerie and her parents are organizing everything, Mum. That is how the design turned out. But I am your mother, Robert. I know, Mum. His voice sounded irritated. Look, it is just an invitation. It is not a big deal. It is not a big deal. My absence on my only son's wedding invitation was not a big deal. All right, I whispered. I will see you on the wedding day then. Yes, I will see you there. I hung up and kept looking at that invitation for a long time. The paper was thick, expensive. Everything about that wedding was going to be perfect, elegant, luxurious. Everything except the place I occupied in my son's life. I put the invitation away next to the embroidered handkerchief. Two memories of what once was and would never be again. The fractures were turning into cracks. And cracks, sooner or later, break everything. During the weeks before the wedding, I convinced myself that everything would get better after the ceremony. It is curious how mothers cling to hope, even when all the signs scream at us to let go. He is nervous about the wedding, I told myself. Valerie has him stressed with so many preparations. Afterward, everything will go back to normal. But deep down, in that place where we keep the truths that hurt us, I knew nothing would ever be normal again. Robert called me only once before the wedding. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was ironing clothes when the phone rang. I saw his name on the screen and my heart skipped a beat. Hello, son. How are you? Mum, I need to talk to you about something. His tone was serious, cold. Of course, tell me. It is about the wedding. Valerie and I, well, actually her parents have some rules about the event. Rules? Yes. It is a very formal wedding. There is a strict dress code, protocol for the photos, that kind of thing. I understand. I already have my dress ready. It is champagne-coloured, very elegant and discreet. Good. That is fine. He paused. Also, Valerie prefers that you not talk to many guests. Her parents invited very important people, business owners, business partners. We do not want there to be misunderstandings. As if I were a little child who did not know how to behave. Robert, I have been to weddings all my life. I know how to behave. I know, Mum. Just keep a low profile, okay? It is important to us. To us. He no longer said to me. Now it was us. He and Valerie. A unit I was not a part of. All right, son. Whatever you say. Thanks, Mum. I will see you on Saturday. He hung up without saying, I love you, without even saying goodbye. I stood there, phone in hand, and the iron steaming over a shirt I no longer saw. For the first time in my life, I felt ashamed of who I was, ashamed of being the mother who cleaned houses, the simple woman who did not fit into Valerie's elegant world. That night, I barely slept. I tried on the dress 3 times, practicing in front of the mirror how to smile without looking out of place. I rehearsed conversations in my head, short, kind phrases that would not make anyone uncomfortable. The wedding day arrived with that perfect blue sky I mentioned at the beginning. I woke up early. I got ready carefully. I put the embroidered handkerchief in my purse, like an amulet. I needed to have something of my mother with me, something that reminded me where I came from and who I really was. I took a taxi to the church. I did not want to ask Robert to send a car for me. I did not want to be more of a burden than I already was. When I arrived, the entrance was full of elegant people, women in designer dresses and jewelry that sparkled under the sun, men in suits that cost what I earned in 6 months. I felt small, invisible. I went into the church and looked for my place. I expected to be in the first row, as is traditional for the groom's mother, but there was a sign with my name in the third row. Third row, like any other guest. I sat down without saying anything, without complaining, because that is what mothers do when they do not want to cause trouble. We swallow the humiliation with a smile. During the ceremony, I saw the back of Robert's head, his straight back, his impeccable suit. I remembered when he was little and ran toward me with open arms. Now he did not even turn to look at me. The ceremony was beautiful. Valerie walked in radiant, and Robert looked at her as if she were the only thing that existed in the world. When the priest asked, "Who gives this man in marriage?" no one said anything. I should have been there, in the first row, saying, "I do, his mother." But I was not. I had been erased. After the ceremony, everyone headed to the reception hall. I tried to get close to Robert, to congratulate him, but Valerie took his arm and pulled him toward the photographer. He did not even see me. I walked to the hall, feeling more and more invisible. I found my table. It was in the back, near the kitchen. I was not even with close relatives. They had sat me with people I did not know, last-minute guests. I sat in silence, holding my purse where I kept the embroidered handkerchief. An older lady next to me tried to strike up a conversation. "Whose side are you on? The bride's or the groom's?" "I am the groom's mother." She looked at me surprised. Really, I thought the mother would be at the main table. There was... I knew she did not believe me. Everyone knew something was wrong. While I am telling all this, I wonder where you are listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. During the reception, I stayed in my seat. I ate little. I smiled when I should. I applauded when everyone applauded. But inside, I felt like a ghost at my own son's wedding. And then I saw Robert walk toward me. Valerie was by his side, both with that expression that chilled my blood. I knew something terrible was about to happen, but not even in my worst nightmares did I imagine what would come next. Robert approached my table with firm steps. Valerie walked beside him with that perfect smile she had perfected for the cameras, but her eyes were cold, calculating. My heart began to beat faster. Something in the way they looked at me told me this was not a courtesy visit. "Mom," Robert said. His voice sounded strained. "Can we talk?" "Of course, son." I tried to smile. "Congratulations to you both. Everything is beautiful." Valerie looked me up and down, as if evaluating something. Then she leaned toward Robert and whispered something in his ear. He nodded. "Mum, I need you to be honest with me. Did you talk to Valerie's family?" "What? No, I did not." "Are you sure? Because Uncle Richard says someone approached him asking about investments, about whether there were job opportunities." I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. "Robert, I have never spoken to anyone in their family about work. I have not even spoken to them beyond a greeting." "Well, someone did, and they described a woman your age with your description." "I swear it was not me." Valerie let out a soft but poisonous laugh. "How convenient that you always have excuses, Helen." It was the first time she called me by my first name, not mother-in-law, not Mrs. Helen, as if we were equals, as if I did not deserve even that basic respect. Valerie, I give you my word that— Your word, Valerie interrupted me. Robert, did you tell her or should I? My son looked down. That gesture hurt me more than any words. It was the look of a child who knows he is doing something wrong, but does it anyway. Mom, we found some things. What things? In my apartment, last week, when you came to drop off that cake. I remembered that day. I had baked his favorite cake, the chocolate cake I had made since he was a child. I went to his apartment in Manhattan. He was not there, but he had left a key for me under the mat. I left the cake with a note. To celebrate your new life. With love, Mum. What about my visit? Things were missing, Mum. Money from a drawer. A watch Valerie's dad gave me. The world stopped. Are you accusing me of stealing? I am not accusing you. I am just asking if you saw anything strange, if anyone else came in. Robert, I just left the cake. I was there for 5 minutes. I did not touch anything. 5 minutes? Valerie raised an eyebrow. The building security camera says you were there for 40 minutes. I felt like I was suffocating. I was cleaning up a bit. I saw there were dirty dishes, that the living room was messy. I just wanted to help. And going into our bedroom was also helping. Valerie's voice was sharp as a knife. I did not go into any bedroom. I cleaned the kitchen and the living room. Nothing else. Robert shook his head. Mum, this is very serious. If it was not you, then someone used your visit as a distraction. Or maybe— Valerie crossed her arms. We must accept the simplest explanation. They were making it seem like I was a thief. At my own son's wedding, in front of guests who were starting to turn toward our table, they were accusing me of stealing. Robert, look me in the eyes. My voice trembled, but I tried to keep it steady. I would never steal from you. Never. I have spent my whole life giving you everything I have. I know, Mum. That is why I do not understand why you would have— Because I did not. Tears began to well up in my eyes. I did not, son. Valerie sighed dramatically. Robert, honey, this is ruining our day. Let us talk about this later. No. My son's voice sounded cold. I need this to be clear now. He leaned toward me. So close I could see something in his eyes I had never seen before. Contempt. Mum, Valerie and I have talked a lot about this, about how things have been since we got engaged. What are you talking about? About your attitude, about how you are always trying to get attention, to play the victim, about how you cannot accept that I am grown up and have my own life. Every word was a stab. I have never tried to— Yes, you do. Constantly. With your calls, your unrequested gifts, your surprise visits. Valerie says it is toxic behavior, that you cannot let me go. Valerie says. It was no longer my son speaking. It was her using his mouth. Robert, I just wanted to be part of your life. Well, sometimes, Mum, love also means knowing when to walk away. I was speechless. My son, the child I carried, whom I fed, whom I protected, was telling me to walk away. Is that what you want? For me to leave? He did not answer immediately. He looked at Valerie. She nodded slightly. I think we need space, Mum. Some time for everyone to process things. But I am your mother. I know, and you always will be. But now I have a wife. She is my priority. Those words should have made me happy. A son who loves his wife is a beautiful thing, but not when that love means erasing the person who gave you life. I got up from the chair. My legs were trembling, but I managed to stay standing. I understand. Robert seemed surprised that I was not arguing. Yes, I understand perfectly. I grabbed my purse. Inside was the embroidered handkerchief, my house keys, and my dignity, which I still had, even if by a thread. I wish you the best, truly. I started walking toward the exit. I heard murmurs around me. The guests had already realized something was happening, but I kept walking. Then I heard Robert's footsteps behind me. His hand grabbed my arm firmly. Do not leave like this, Mom. You are making a scene. I am not doing anything. I am leaving like you asked me to. Not like that. Everyone is looking. And that is when something inside me finally broke. Not from sadness, from clarity. You know what, Robert? My whole life I have worried about making a good impression, about not causing trouble, about being the perfect mother who never asks for anything in return. But no more. I pulled free from his grip. If making a scene is defending myself against false accusations, then so be it. What happened next was what I told you about at the beginning. The slaps, the poisoned words, the public humiliation. But now you understand something you did not know before. That moment was not the first. It was the last in a long chain of disrespect, of accusations, of attempts to erase me. And when I left that hall with my face burning and my soul broken, I knew something had changed forever. I was no longer going to deny myself. I was no longer going to submit. For the first time in 70 years, I was going to do what I should have done from the start. Defend myself. That night, after arriving home with my face swollen and my heart shattered, I sat at the kitchen table for hours. I did not turn on the television. I did not call anyone. I just stayed there, in the silence of my small house in Queens, holding that embroidered handkerchief in my hands. My mother's initials seemed to speak to me. M.C.V. Mary Cooper Vaughan, a woman who had also suffered, who had also been strong when life demanded it of her. I remembered something she told me shortly before she died. I was 30 years old and had just found out that Richard, Robert's father, had been unfaithful to me. I was crying in her kitchen, exactly as I was crying in mine now. Daughter, she said, taking my hands, sometimes life makes us choose between our peace and the love of others, and when someone forces you to choose, they are already telling you that your peace is worth nothing to them. But Mom, he is my husband, my son's father. And you are a daughter of God before you are any man's wife. Never forget that. I did not forget it, but I ignored it. I stayed with Richard for another 2 years, until he decided to leave. And now, 40 years later, I was making the same mistake with my son, sacrificing my peace for love. I got up from the chair and walked to my bedroom. From the closet, I took out an old box where I kept important documents, birth certificates, deeds, old photographs. And at the bottom, I found what I was looking for. A black notebook where I had written everything down. You see, I am not a formally educated woman, but I am observant. And for the last 2 years, since Robert met Valerie, I had started writing things down. Small details that did not add up. I opened the notebook and read my own notes. March 2023. Robert asks to borrow $5,000 for a business course. Says Valerie convinced him to sign up. I transferred the money. He never returned it, nor did he mention the course again. July 2023. Valerie shows off a handbag on Facebook that cost $30,000. Robert had told me she came from a rich family, but then I learned from his cousin that Valerie's dad went bankrupt 3 years ago. October 2023. Robert asks to borrow another $10,000, says it is for the apartment deposit. Later, I found out Valerie's parents paid for the entire apartment, January 2024. Valerie posts a photo of a vacation in Miami. Robert had told me he did not even have money to come visit me. Page after page. 2 years of small lies that accumulated like drops until they formed a sea. But the note that hurt me the most was the last one. April 2024. Robert called me asking for $20,000 for Valerie's medical emergency. He said it was urgent. I sold the gold hoop earrings my mother left me. 3 days later, Valerie published photos of the engagement ring that cost over $100,000. I had sold my mother's hoop earrings, the only thing of value I had left. And my son had used that money not for an emergency, but to impress a woman who was using him. I sat on the bed with the notebook open on my lap. Tears fell onto the pages, slightly blurring the ink, but the words were still there. The evidence that my son had become someone I did not recognize. Then I heard a sound at the door. Someone was knocking. It was almost 11 o'clock at night. I looked out the window and saw an unknown car parked outside. A man in a suit was standing at my entrance. I opened the door cautiously. "Mrs. Helen Cooper?" "Yes, that is me." "My name is Robert Miller. I am an accountant. I work for the Stone family." Valerie's last name. My stomach tightened. "What do you want?" "Excuse the hour, but this is urgent. May I come in?" I let him in, more out of curiosity than trust. He sat in my small living room and took a folder out of his briefcase. "Mrs. Cooper, I came because I have to talk to someone, and you are the only person who can understand the seriousness of what is happening." "I do not understand." "I work for Mr. Richard Stone, Valerie's father. Or rather, I worked. I resigned this afternoon because they asked me to do something that goes against my professional ethics." I sat down across from him, feeling that something important was about to be revealed. "What did they ask you to do?" "Falsify documents for insurance fraud. The Stone family is bankrupt. They have been living on appearances for 3 years. The business failed. The properties are mortgaged. Everything is a facade." "And what does this have to do with me?" "Valerie did not fall in love with your son, ma'am. She investigated him. She looks for young men with potential, without a strong family to protect them. She manipulates them, isolates them, and eventually uses them for financial schemes." I felt a chill run down my spine. "How do you know that Robert—" "Because she has done this before. Twice. She has a pattern. She gets married, convinces the husband to put everything in her name, out of love, and when he is no longer useful, she discards him. One of her ex-husbands lost everything. The other is still suing her." I was speechless. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I heard what happened at the wedding today, and because I found this." He took a document out of the folder and handed it to me. It was a power of attorney, with Robert's signature, giving Valerie total control over his bank accounts, his future properties, everything. He signed this 2 weeks ago. Valerie convinced him by telling him it was romantic to share everything, but legally your son just handed over his life. I looked at the document. Robert's signature. That signature I had taught him to make when he was 7 years old, practicing his name over and over on notebook paper. "Mr. Miller, why are you helping me? You do not know me." He lowered his gaze. "Because I also had a mother who tried to warn me about the wrong woman. I did not listen to her. When I finally saw the truth, it was too late. My mother had died. I could never ask her for forgiveness for not listening." He stood up. "I do not know if your son will listen to you, Mrs. Cooper. He probably will not. Valerie is very good at what she does, but at least you will know the truth. He left me the folder with all the documents. Histories of Valerie's ex-husbands, reports of the Stone family's debts, copies of the power of attorney. After he left, I stared at those papers for hours. Everything made sense now. The accusations of theft were to keep me away, so I could not warn Robert. The humiliations were to break my voice before I could speak. But Valerie had made a mistake. She had underestimated a mother. She had thought that with blows and shame, she would make me disappear. She did not know that when a woman has survived abandonment, years of hard work, and the solitude of raising a child alone, a couple of slaps do not destroy her. They wake her up. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you? What would you have done in my place? I made a decision that night, one that would change everything. I was not going to beg. I was not going to plead for Robert to believe me. I was going to protect him in the only way I could, with the truth, even if he did not want to see it. Because that is what mothers do. We love even when we are hated. We protect even when we are rejected. And sometimes, the greatest love is letting them fall, so we can be there when they finally ask for help. On Monday morning, 2 days after the wedding, I woke up with a clarity I had not felt in years. I had slept only 3 hours, but my mind was more awake than ever. I made hot cider, that cinnamon aroma that had filled my house for decades. I sat in the kitchen with the folder Mr. Miller had left me and read it completely one more time. Every document, every piece of evidence, every detail. I took out my phone and dialed Robert's number. It rang 5 times before he answered. Hello? His voice sounded irritated, sleepy. Robert, it is your mother. I need to talk to you. Mum, it is 7 o'clock in the morning. Valerie and I just got back from the honeymoon. We are tired. It is important, son. Very important. More important than our rest. Look, we already talked about this. I told you we needed space. Robert, please, just give me 1 hour. 1 hour of your time. I heard Valerie in the background asking who was calling, then her voice closer to the phone. Tell her we will call later, honey. We need to sleep. My son did not even respond. He just hung up. I stared at the phone. That rejection would have been enough to make me back down just a few days ago, but not anymore. I was no longer the Helen who swallowed her pain in silence. I grabbed the folder, dressed in my best clothes, and took a taxi to Manhattan, to my son's apartment. The ride was long. As the taxi drove through the city streets, I thought about all the times I had made that same trip, bringing him food, gifts, love. Always me seeking him out. Always me giving. I arrived at the elegant building where they lived. The doorman recognized me from my last visit. Good morning, Ma'am. Are you here to see Mr. Robert? Yes, please. Can you tell him I am here? He called on the intercom. I heard Robert's voice, clearly annoyed. My mum. Tell her she cannot come up. Tell her to call before coming. The doorman looked at me uncomfortably. I am sorry, Ma'am. Mr. Roberts says that. I heard. I took a deep breath. Could you give him a message from me? Of course. Tell him I have information about Valerie. Information he needs to know before it is too late. Legal documents. And that if he does not see me now, I will send them by certified mail to his work. The doorman called again and repeated my message word for word. There was a long silence on the other side. Then Robert's voice, tense. Let her come up, but only for 5 minutes. I went up in the elevator with my heart pounding. When the doors opened on the 12th floor, Robert was already waiting for me in the hallway. His face was serious, his arms crossed. Mum, this is the limit, threatening me by sending things to my work. It is not a threat, son. It is urgency. You have 5 minutes. Valerie is sleeping and I do not want her to wake up. We went into the apartment. Everything was exactly as I remembered it. Elegant, minimalist, cold. None of the childhood photos I had given him. Nothing to remember where he came from. I sat on the sofa and placed the folder on the coffee table. Robert, do you know who Valerie really is? She is my wife. And enough with your jealousy, Mum. I know you do not like her, but this is not about me liking her or not. This is about her using you. His face hardened. Here we go again. Always the same thing. No one is good enough for my son. Listen to me, please. I opened the folder and took out the first document. This is a report of Valerie's history. She has been married twice before, to young professional men, without close family, just like you. That does not mean anything. A lot of people have been married more than once. And this? I showed him the power of attorney document. You signed this 2 weeks ago. You gave her total control over your accounts, your future properties, everything. Robert took the document. His face paled slightly. This, she said it was to facilitate paperwork, so we could buy a house together more easily. Robert, with this she can empty your accounts, sell whatever you buy, leave you with nothing. Legally, you would not be able to do anything. Where did you get this? His voice rose in tone. Are you spying on me now? Someone who worked for Valerie's family came looking for me. He resigned because they asked him to falsify documents. He brought me all this because he knows Valerie has a pattern. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Look at this. I showed him the Stone family financial report. Valerie's parents are bankrupt. Everything you have seen, the cars, the apartment she says they paid for, the luxurious wedding, everything is borrowed or in debt. Robert stood up, trembling with rage. Now I understand. This is your revenge, right? Because I asked you to stay away, now you come to destroy my marriage with lies. They are not lies, son. They are official documents, investigations, testimonies. They are lies, he shouted. And the only thing they show is that you are obsessed with controlling me, that you cannot accept that I grew up. Robert, please. No, it is over. He walked toward the door and opened it. Leave, now. Son, I just want to protect you. Protect me? By accusing my wife of being a con artist, by inventing conspiracies. Ask her about her ex-husbands. Ask her why Mr. Miller resigned. Ask her, leave! His shout made Valerie come out of the bedroom in a silk robe, looking like she had been awake the whole time. She had probably been listening behind the door. What is going on, honey? She asked in a soft, victimized voice. My mom is inventing horrible things about you, about your family. Valerie looked at me with a mixture of triumph and contempt. Helen, I already knew you would come to this. I had already warned Robert that you would try to separate us. Mom, you know that everything I am saying is true. What I know is that you are a resentful woman who cannot let go of her son. She walked up to Robert and hugged him. Honey, this is exactly what my therapist warned me about. Toxic personalities who project their own failures onto others. Robert? My voice broke. Look me in the eyes. I am your mother. I carried you for 9 months. I took care of you when you had a fever. I worked 2 shifts so you could study. Do you really think I would come here to lie to you? For a second, just 1 second, I saw doubt in his eyes. But Valerie was faster. I already called security, honey. Someone is coming to escort her out. It is not necessary. I picked up my folder. I am leaving now. I walked toward the door. Before leaving, I turned around one last time. Robert, when all this falls apart, when you realize the truth, I will be waiting for you. Because that is what mothers do. We wait. Always. If you really loved me, he said in a cold voice, you would respect my decision and leave my life. Those words were worse than the slaps, worse than any physical blow. My son was asking me to disappear. Whatever you want, son. Whatever you want. I left the apartment just as the security guard arrived. I rode down in the elevator with tears I finally could not hold back. I lost. I lost my son. I lost the battle against Valerie. I lost everything, or so I thought at the time. Because sometimes losing with dignity is more powerful than winning with lies. And even though I did not know it yet, that defeat was sowing the seeds of something much greater. I arrived home that Monday at noon. I sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea I did not even drink. I just held it in my hands, feeling the warmth, trying to anchor myself to something real while my mind spun. I had lost. Robert had chosen to believe Valerie. He had chosen comfortable lies over uncomfortable truth, and I could not do anything else. Or so I thought for the first few hours. But as the day went on, something inside me began to change. It was not rage. It was not revenge. It was something deeper. It was the understanding that true love sometimes means letting go, but not without leaving rescue tools. I took out the folder Mr. Miller had given me again. I reviewed it document by document. Then I took out my black notebook, where I had written down all the small lies of the last 2 years. The photos I had saved of Valerie's social media posts, the receipts of the transfers Robert had asked me for. I organized everything, chronologically with notes in the margin explaining each thing. Then I made a decision. I was not going to stay quiet. But I was also not going to keep begging my son to listen to me. I was going to do something different, something my mother would have done. I was going to protect him from a distance, with actions, not with words. I called a lawyer, not just any lawyer, but the best I could find with my limited savings. Mr. Smith had his office in a modest area of the city. He was a man in his 60s, grey-haired, with eyes that had seen too many injustices. Mrs. Cooper, he told me after reviewing all the documents, you have enough evidence here for 3 different lawsuits. I do not want to sue my son. I am not talking about your son. I am talking about Valerie Stone and her family. What they did at the wedding, physically assaulting you in front of witnesses, is a crime. The false accusations of theft are defamation, and if we can prove the insurance fraud the accountant mentioned, they could face criminal charges. And my son? Your son is a victim too, ma'am. If we start the correct legal process, we can protect him. The power of attorney he signed can be annulled if we prove it was obtained through manipulation and deceit. I was silent for a long time. Mr. Smith, if I do this, Robert is going to think I betrayed him. Maybe. But when time passes and he sees that you were right, he will understand that this was love. The kind of love that hurts, but saves. How long would it take? A process like this can take months, maybe a year. But Mrs. Cooper, you are 70 years old. This kind of stress. I am 70 years old, I interrupted him. But I have survived worse things than a lawsuit. I have survived abandonment, poverty, raising a son alone. I can survive this too. He nodded with respect. Then we will begin. But I need you to understand something. The moment you file this lawsuit, there is no turning back. Your son will find out. Valerie will fight back. It is going to be a difficult road. I know, but it is the only road that lets me sleep in peace. That afternoon I signed the papers, civil lawsuit for physical assault and emotional distress, criminal complaint for defamation, request for investigation of financial fraud. Mr. Smith explained that the lawsuit included the photographs that several guests had taken at the wedding. In this day and age, everyone has a cell phone. Everyone records. And although it was humiliating for you, those recordings are now evidence. We will present them in court, he told me. And, Mrs. Cooper, there is something we must consider. This could become public. The media might be interested in the case. I do not want publicity. I understand. But sometimes publicity protects. It prevents the opposing party from being able to sweep things under the rug. Do whatever is necessary. Just keep Robert as protected as possible. He is a victim in all of this, even if he does not know it yet. The following days were strange. I continued my normal routine, cleaning houses, ironing clothes, drinking hot cider in the mornings. But there was a difference. I no longer carried that weight in my chest. I had taken action. I was no longer paralyzed. A week after filing the lawsuit, the lawyer called me. Mrs. Cooper, the notifications have been delivered. Valerie Stone and her family were notified of the lawsuit. Your son was too. How did he react? According to the process server, the young man Robert received the envelope without saying anything. He just opened it, read it, and closed the door. I imagined that moment. My son opening an official envelope, seeing my name as the plaintiff, reading the accusations against his wife. The shock, the rage, probably. And Valerie? She tried to refuse the notification. She screamed that it was harassment. But legally she has been notified. Now they have 20 days to respond. That night, sitting in my living room with my mother's embroidered handkerchief on my lap, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Peace. Not peace because things were good. Peace because I had done the right thing. I had defended my dignity. I had planted a seed of truth that sooner or later would blossom. My phone started ringing. It was Robert. 1 call, 2, 3, 5 calls in 10 minutes. Then texts. Mum, what did you do? Call me now. This is crazy. Did you sue Valerie? Are you crazy? 26 messages in total. But I did not answer any of them, because I had learned something important. Sometimes silence is the most powerful answer. Sometimes saying nothing says everything. The 27th call came at 2 o'clock in the morning. This time I answered. Hello? Mum. His voice sounded different, not angry, broken. Why? Because someone had to tell the truth, son. The truth? Your truth full of lies and accusations? They are not lies. They are documented facts. And when the judge reviews everything, he will see it too. Mom, please withdraw the lawsuit. We can solve this as a family. There is no family anymore, Robert. You said so yourself. You asked me to leave your life. I did not. I was angry. And I was being assaulted. In front of 200 people. Where was your family then? Silence. Son, when you are ready to hear the complete truth, I will be here. But until then, this follows its legal course. Valerie says she is going to countersue you, that you are going to lose your house, your savings, everything. Let her try. I am not afraid anymore. I have lost things more valuable than money. I have lost my son's respect. What else can they take from me? Mum. Good night, Robert. Take care. I hung up. And for the first time in 2 years, I slept all night, deeply, without nightmares. Because I had recovered something I had lost a long time ago. My dignity. and that, I would soon discover, was the most powerful weapon of all. The next 3 months were like living in two parallel worlds. In one, I continued my normal life, working, praying, taking care of my geraniums in the backyard. In the other, a legal process advanced slowly but surely, unraveling every lie Valerie had woven. Mr. Smith kept me informed every week. Mrs. Cooper, they filed their countersuit. As we expected, they are accusing you of defamation, harassment, and emotional distress. They are asking for compensation of $500,000. 500,000? I almost laughed. I do not even have 50,000 saved up. I know it is an intimidation tactic, but we have something better than money. We have the truth. And the truth, as the saying goes, has long legs. It eventually catches up with those who run from it. The first crack in Valerie's perfect world appeared when the accountant, Mr. Miller, agreed to testify. Not only that, he also turned over copies of all the documents the Stone family had asked him to falsify. This changes everything, the lawyer told me. With this testimony, we can prove fraud. And if there is fraud, the power of attorney Robert signed can be annulled because it was obtained through deceit. Is Robert okay? According to our investigation, yes. But Mrs. Cooper, there is something you need to know. Valerie emptied one of your son's accounts. $50,000 he had saved. She transferred it to an account in her name 3 days after receiving the lawsuit notification. I felt my heart clench. Does he know? We are not sure, but he will know soon. The bank will send him notifications. That night, I could not sleep thinking about Robert, about how he would feel discovering that his wife had stolen from him, that everything I had warned him about was true. The second crack came when one of Valerie's ex-husbands, David Thomas, heard about the lawsuit and contacted Mr. Smith offering his testimony. I met him at the lawyer's office. He was a man about 35 years old, thin, with deep circles under his eyes and a sadness in his gaze that I immediately recognized. "Mrs. Cooper," he said, "thank you for doing what I did not have the courage to do." "What happened to you?" "I married Valerie 4 years ago. Like your son, I came from a humble family. I worked as an engineer, I earned well, I had savings. She convinced me to pool everything, to put the apartment I bought in both our names, out of love, to give her access to my accounts, because true marriages do not have secrets. And she left me with nothing. One day I came home and there was nothing left. No furniture, none of my clothes, nothing. She had sold the apartment, emptied the accounts, and disappeared. She left me $100,000 in debt that she had taken out in my name without my knowing. Did you sue her? I tried, but she has expensive lawyers. Her family has contacts. They dragged it out so long that I had to drop the lawsuit because I no longer had money to pay a lawyer. I am so sorry. Do not be sorry. I was very sorry when my mother warned me and I did not listen to her. She died without me asking for forgiveness for not listening. The same words Mr. Miller had told me. 2 different men. The same story. The same pain. Your son still has time, Mrs. Cooper. That is why I am here, to testify, so that at least one person is saved from what I went through. While all this was happening, Robert did not call me again. I only knew about him through the lawyer's investigation. He was still working. He was still living with Valerie. He was still pretending everything was fine. But things were not fine. Because the truth is like water. It always finds the cracks to seep through. The third crack, the one that finally broke everything, came 2 months after the legal process began. The lawyer called me on a Friday afternoon. "Mrs. Cooper, I need you to come to the office. There is something you need to see." When I arrived, there was a manila envelope on his desk. This arrived today, anonymously. Inside were photographs. Valerie with another man, in a fancy restaurant, at a hotel, kissing. The photographs have dates, the lawyer explained. All of them are from the last 6 weeks, while she was married to Robert. I felt nauseous. Who sent them? I do not know. But look at the last photograph. It was an image of Valerie entering a bank with that man. The date was from a week ago. We investigated. That man is James Nelson, a 45-year-old businessman, divorced, rich, very rich. Do you think We think your son is no longer useful to her. She is preparing her next move. That is why she emptied the account. She is taking out everything she can before leaving him. The pieces fit together. Valerie had never loved Robert. She had only been waiting for the right moment to jump to the next level. What do we do with this? We present it as evidence. It demonstrates her pattern of behavior. And Mrs. Cooper, there is more. The insurance fraud investigation has advanced. The prosecution is going to press charges against the Stone family. This is no longer just civil. It is criminal. And Robert, he is not implicated. We made sure of that. He is a victim, not an accomplice. That night, as I held my mother's embroidered handkerchief, I prayed. Not for revenge. I prayed for my son, that he would open his eyes before it was too late. And my prayers were answered, but not in the way I expected. A week later, on a Monday morning, I was watering my geraniums when I heard a car stop in front of my house. I turned and saw Robert getting out. He was wearing the same clothes as the day before. He was disheveled, with deep circles under his eyes, and on his face there was something I had not seen in years. Vulnerability. He walked toward me slowly. When he was close, I saw he had tears in his eyes. "Mom." His voice broke. "You were right." I did not say anything. I just put down the watering can and waited. Valerie left. She emptied the accounts. She sold everything she could sell. She left me debts I did not even know existed. And I found... He choked on his own words. I found texts with another man for months. He collapsed. Right there, in my small backyard, my 30-year-old son collapsed like the child he once was. He knelt on the ground and cried. I walked over and hugged him. I did not say, "I told you so." I did not say, "You should have listened to me." I just hugged him while he cried. Forgive me, Mom. Forgive me for everything. For the slaps. For the horrible words. For not believing you. It is all right, son. It is all right. How can you forgive me? I treated you worse than a stranger. Because I am your mother, and mothers do not stop loving even when they are hurt. I took him inside. I made him hot cider, that cinnamon aroma that had filled our house for so many years. And as we drank coffee in silence, I saw something in his eyes that I had not seen for 2 years. My real son, not the manipulated version, the real one. Mum, the lawsuit, I know you were right. But now, what is going to happen? What is going to happen is that justice will take its course. Valerie and her family are going to face the consequences of what they did, not just to you, to other men before you. I feel so stupid. You are not stupid. You were manipulated by someone who is very skilled at manipulating. But son, there were signs, many signs that you chose to ignore. I know. And the worst thing is that I saw them, but I wanted to believe it was true love, that someone like her could love me. Someone like her. Someone successful, rich, from the world I wanted to belong to. And there was the deeper truth. My son had not just been manipulated by Valerie, he had manipulated himself. He had wanted so badly to escape his origins, his humble life, that he had sold his soul to the first mirage of success that appeared. Son, I took his hands. Success is not measured by luxurious apartments or expensive weddings. It is measured by being able to sleep peacefully knowing you did not hurt anyone, by having people who truly love you, not for what you have, but for who you are, like me, who loved you when we had nothing but homemade apple pie and a small house, who kept loving you when you rejected me, who loves you now that you come back broken. Robert cried again, but this time they were different tears, tears of true repentance. I can stay here for just a few days, until I find somewhere to live. This is your home, son. It always was. That night, after Robert fell asleep in his old room, I sat in the kitchen with the embroidered handkerchief in my hands. My mother's initials, MCV, glowed under the light. You did well, daughter. I could almost hear her voice. You defended your dignity, and you saved your son. That is what strong women do. And in that moment I understood something profound. Sometimes the greatest love looks like abandonment. It looks like letting go. It looks like standing firm even when it hurts. Because Valerie had lost. Not because of my lawsuit. Not because of the lawyers. She had lost because she built her life on lies. And lies always crumble. She had lost because she underestimated the power of a mother who truly loves. Life always collects its debts. Always. And Valerie had just received the first bill of a very long account. 6 months have passed since that morning when Robert returned home, broken but conscious. 6 months in which life taught us that healing is not fast, but it is possible. The legal process took its course. Valerie Stone was found guilty of fraud and defamation. She did not go to prison, but she now has a criminal record, a prohibition from coming near me or Robert, and a financial debt that will take her years to pay off. The power of attorney was annulled. All the debts she had put in my son's name were legally transferred to her. Her family lost the little they had left. Her father was accused of insurance fraud and is facing a criminal trial. Her mother had to sell her last luxury car to pay lawyers. And Valerie, I learned from the lawyer, the rich businessman she was photographed with, left her when he found out about her record. Now she lives alone in a small apartment working in a clothing store, without the glamour or the appearances she cultivated so much. She once called me crazy. She accused me of being toxic, obsessed, of not being able to let go. Years later, life itself showed her who was really sick. I saw her a month ago by chance at the supermarket. She was alone, with her cart half empty, buying the cheap brands I always bought. She saw me and looked away. She had deep circles under her eyes, her hair was unkempt, and in her eyes there was something I recognized. Emptiness. Life always collects its debts. Always. I did not feel joy seeing her like that. I felt sadness. Because it could have been me if I had chosen the path of lies. Because every decision we make either builds us up or destroys us. And Valerie chose to destroy others until she destroyed herself. Robert, my son, has been the real miracle of these months. The first few days were difficult. He cried at night. He blamed himself. He repeated over and over, "How could I have been so blind?" "You were not blind, son," I would tell him. "You were human, and humans make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them." Little by little, he began to rebuild. He quit the job where Valerie's father's contacts had placed him. He got a new position, more modest but honest. He moved from Manhattan to a simple apartment nearby in Queens. On Sundays, he comes for breakfast. We make apple pie together, like when he was a child. He kneads, and I bake. The aroma of cinnamon fills the house again. 2 weeks ago, he gave me something. It was a small box wrapped with gift paper that he had decorated himself with clumsy drawings. Open it, Mum. Inside were my mother's gold hoop earrings, the ones I had sold to give him money. How? I looked for them for months. I went to all the pawn shops in the city. I finally found them. They are not the exact same ones, but they are the same design. I cried, not tears of sadness, but of healing. Son, you already gave me back the most important thing. You gave back yourself. That afternoon, with the hoop earrings on and my mother's embroidered handkerchief on the table, I told him everything. Every detail, every moment of pain, every difficult decision, every night I prayed for him. Mum, when you slapped me in public, I mean when I slapped you, when you slapped me, son, do not change the story. When I slapped you, he looked down. What did you feel? I felt like I was losing my son, but I also felt clarity, because that moment showed me how far your confusion had gone, and it gave me the courage to do what I had to do, to defend you, even if it meant confronting you. How did you know it was the right thing to do? Because I remembered my mother. She told me once, when someone forces you to choose between your peace and their love, they are already telling you that your peace is worth nothing to them. And I chose my peace, not out of selfishness, but for survival. And by choosing it, I also saved you. Robert took the embroidered handkerchief, passing his fingers over the initials M.C.V. I never met Grandma Mary, but she knows you, and she is proud, not of the man you were 6 months ago, but of the man you are choosing to be now. He smiled. That smile of my real son, the one I raised. Sometimes people from the neighborhood ask me why I forgave Robert so easily, why I did not hold a grudge. And the answer is simple, but profound. Because true love does not keep score. True love looks past the mistake and finds the person beneath the damage. Does that mean I forgot? No, the scars are there. But scars are not open wounds. They are evidence that we healed, that we survived. Does it mean I trust blindly again? No. Trust is rebuilt with actions, not with words. And Robert knows it. He does not ask for trust. He shows it to me, day by day, call by call, visit by visit. A week ago, he told me something important. Mom, I met someone. My heart skipped a beat, but this time not out of fear, but curiosity. Yes, her name is Patricia. She is an elementary school teacher. She comes from a humble family like us. She does not have a car or wear designer clothes. But when she smiles, Mum, when she smiles, it is like the world makes sense. And what do you feel? I feel peace. Not that crazy excitement of wanting to impress her, just peace. Then that is good, son. When do you want me to meet her? When you are ready. No pressure. I met her yesterday. Patricia came to the house with a cake she had baked herself and flowers for me. She sat in my kitchen and drank hot cider without airs. She asked me about my life, about my geraniums, about the embroidered handkerchief that was on the table. When they left, I told Robert. She is different. I know. Take care of her. But son, take care of yourself most of all. That is the most important lesson. Now, as I finish telling this story, I am sitting in my small backyard where the red geraniums grow and the vine climbs the wall. My mother's embroidered handkerchief is on my lap. The gold hoop earrings shine in my ears. I am 70 years old, I do not clean as many houses because my knees hurt more, but I have the most important thing: dignity, peace, and my son back. If my story helps even one woman to open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If even one mother reads this and finds the courage to defend herself, not to allow herself to be humiliated, to choose her peace even if it means temporarily letting go of the one she loves, then every tear I shed made sense. Because this is what I learned in 70 years of life. True love sometimes looks like firmness. It looks like saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. It looks like walking alone when everyone thinks you should stay. And when you walk with dignity, even if you walk alone, eventually those who truly love you find their way back. Life always collects its debts, but it also rewards dignity. Valerie built a castle of lies, and it collapsed on her. I built a simple life on truth, and it remains firm. Which one do I prefer? Mine, always mine, because I can sleep peacefully, because I can look at myself in the mirror without shame, because when I meet my mother on the other side, I will be able to tell her, I am your daughter. Mother, I am your daughter. And she will smile and tell me, you did well, my child. You did well. Thank you for listening to me until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the notification bell to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. May God bless you. And remember, it is never too late to choose your dignity. It is never too late to defend yourself. It is never too late to be the strong woman you were always meant to be. Until next time.